Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, text number 25. Yada I Ardharmena Tamodiyo Nripa Shivanti Tatraisha Hi Sattvata Kila Tete Bhagam Satyam Ritam Dayam Sho Bhavaya Rupani Dadad Yuge Yuge Yada Yadharmena Tamodiya Ripa Shivanti Tatraisha Hi Sattvata Kila Tete Bhagam Satyam Ritam Dayam Yasho Bhavaya Rupani Dadad Yuge Yuge Show Bhavaya Rupani Dadad Yuge Yuge Yada Hi Dharmena Tamodiya Ripa Shivanti Tatraisha Hi Sattvata Kila Tate Bhagam Satyam Rite Udayam Yasho Bhavaya Rupani Dadad Yuge Yuge. Ladies. No. Yada whenever he assuredly adharmena against the principles of God's will. Tamadiya, persons in the lowest material modes. Ripa, kings and administrators. Jivanti, live like animals. Tatra, thereupon. Esha, he only. Sattvataha, transcendental. Kila, certainly. Date is manifested. Bhagam, supreme power. Satyam, truth. Ritam, positiveness. Dayam, mercy. Jasha, wonderful activities. Bhavaya, for the maintenance. Rupani, in various forms. Dadat, manifested. Yuge, different periods. Yuge, and ages. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in His transcendental form manifests His supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Please repeat. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in His transcendental form manifests His supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Purport. As mentioned above, the cosmic creation is the property of the Supreme Lord. This is the basic philosophy of Upanishad, Ishupanishad. Everything is the property of the Supreme Being. No one should encroach upon the property of the Supreme Lord. One should accept only what is kindly awarded by Him. Therefore, the earth or any other planet or universe is the absolute property of the Lord. The living beings are certainly His parts and parcels, or sons, and thus every one of them has a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute His prescribed work. No one therefore can encroach upon the right of another individual man or animal without being so sanctioned by the Lord. The king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. He must therefore be a recognized person like Maharaj Yudhisthira or Parikshit. Such kings have full responsibility and knowledge from authorities about the administration of the world. But at times, due to the influence of the ignorant mode of material nature, Tamogun, the lowest of the material modes, kings and administrators come into power without knowledge and responsibility. And such foolish administrators live like animals for the sake of their own personal interest. The result is that the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with anarchy and vicious elements. Nepotism, bribery, cheating and aggression, and therefore famine, epidemic, war, and similar other disturbing features become prominent in human society. And the devotees of the Lord or the faithful are persecuted by all means. All these symptoms indicate the time of an incarnation of the Lord to reestablish the principles of religion and vanquish the mal-administrators. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord then appears in His transcendental form without any tinge of material qualities. He descends just to keep the state of His creation in a normal condition. The normal condition is that the Lord has provided each and every planet with all the needs of the native living beings. They can happily live and execute the prescribed, predestined occupations to attain salvation at the end, following the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The material world is created to satisfy the whims of the Nityabhara, or everlastingly conditioned souls. Just as naughty boys are provided with playing cradles, otherwise there is no need of the material world. But when they become intoxicated with the power of material science to exploit the resources unlawfully without the sanction of the Lord, and that also only for sense gratification, there is a necessity of the Lord's incarnation to chastise the rebellious, protect the faithful. When He descends, He exhibits superhuman acts just to prove His supreme right. And materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa are sufficiently punished. He acts in a manner which no one can imitate. For example, the Lord, when he appeared as Rama, bridged the Indian Ocean. When he appeared as Krishna, for his very childhood, he showed superhuman activities by killing Putana, Agasura, Shakatasura, Kaliya, etc. And then his material uncle, Kamsa. When he was at Dwarka, he married 16,108 queens, and all of them were blessed with a sufficient number of children. Sum total of his personal family members amounted to about 100,000, popularly known as the Yadu Vamsa. And again, during his lifetime, he managed to vanquish them all. He is famous as the Govardhan Dari Hari because he lifted at the age of only 7 the hill known as Govardhan. The Lord killed many undesirable kings in his time, and as a Kshatriya he fought chivalrously. He is famous as Asamurdva, unparalleled, known as equal to or greater than him. So the text again. Idahi dharmena tamodiyo nripa divanti tatraisha hi satvata kila tate bhagam satyam ritam dayam yasho bhavaya rupani dadad yuge yuge. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests the supreme power. The absolute positive, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wondrous activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Siddharane Pratranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Tridiskritam Dharma Samstapanartaya Sambhavam Yuge Yuge. In order to protect the faithful and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish religious principles, I descend millennium after millennium. So religious principles means Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavastito Gyatva Shastra Vidanokta Karma Kartam Ihaharsi. That one should know what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of Shastra, and knowing such regulations, one should act so that one can gradually become purified. So Shastra is not some ordinary book. It's known as Asamurdva. It's infallible. And why is it infallible? Because it's a science. And what is science? Science begins with Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Shabdyate. The fact that we're Brahman is science, because it's true, past, present, and future. So-called science in the modern society is not really science, it's speculation. Because if it was actually science, then it would be true past, present, and future. But all the science, so-called science they have now, whether it be in astronomy, or biology, or chemistry, or physics, it's different every year, or maybe twice a year. Therefore, it's not science, it's mythology, or a speculation. But the fact that our bodies are changing, and we're not changing, that was true in the past. Nitvevaham jatuna sam, nitvemena janadipa. That there was never a time when I did not exist, Krishna says, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So, whether we're a great saintly person, or we're Kamsa, or Hiranyakashipu, or Hitler, or the President of the United States, or Slovenia. Everyone's eternal. We're simply transmigrating from one material body to another in the different modes of material nature. And even the animals, even the insects, they're all also spiritual beings transmigrating from one body to another. So this is universal and eternal principle. So this is science. And Paramatma, no one can exist without a guide. Everyone needs a leader. When we're born, we don't know anything. And as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in modern society, people are born in ignorance, and by modern education, they become less than animals. Not very good. Education means to understand Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But the more one becomes educated, the more one becomes a fool. And what is a fool? Utkramantam stitim vapi bhunjana vagunanvita vimudo nana pashanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish cannot understand how the living entity quits his body or what kind of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But those whose eyes are trained with knowledge can see it all clearly. So human life is meant to train our knowledge, train our eyes, our consciousness, our intelligence, so that we see everything clearly. If we cannot see how the body is changing, but we're not changing, then obviously we're mudhas. We're in the lowest state of material existence, just preparing ourselves to be a mudha in our next lifetime, or an ass. If we're got some prasadam, maybe we'll become an ass, or maybe if we haven't, we'll go lower. And if we were brought up, for instance, in the animals, sometimes people are children are abandoned in the forest, and some wolves bring them up, and they learn how to speak like wolves. They act like wolves. All the other wolves, they accept them into the family. We have a little strange brother or sister, but still, wolves are not so discriminating. They're more inclusive than human beings are. He doesn't have very much fur on his body, but still he's a brother wolf. He talks like a wolf, he eats like a wolf, he howls like a wolf, he cries like a wolf, he hunts like a wolf. He must be a wolf. But he's not a wolf. But he's been brought up like a wolf, so therefore he becomes a member of the wolf family. According to our association, that's what we become. But the wolves are also receiving remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And a human being in the association of wolves will act like a wolf. Krishna will give him the same intelligence he's providing to the wolf. Our remembrance is not, we're not independent of our remembrance. Otherwise, we could remember everything we ever heard. Our forgetfulness is also, we're not in control of it completely, because sometimes we try to forget something. And when we can't forget it, then we go crazy, because it's not within our control. And as far as how we see the world, that is also not under our control. That intelligence is being provided to us. And therefore some people are supposedly more intelligent and other people are less intelligent, according to what intelligence Krishna is supplying to them. And indeed, not only is he supplying us with remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, but he's also controlling the movement of all these planets, moving the sun in its orbit, so the sun comes up at a certain time, and the sun goes down at a certain time. Supreme intelligence is manifested everywhere. Otherwise, how can we eat food? Parts of it are digested and assimilated into the body, and the unnecessary parts are eliminated. who can create such a machine as this human body that could eat an apple and it turns into our brain or our stomach? Can you do that? Take an apple and by science turn it into some brain? Of course, people's brains have turned into apples nowadays, so it works in the reverse. Rotten apples. But Krishna can take an apple and turn it into a brain or a liver or a heart or anything else. So that's Krishna's power as a super soul. That's mystic power. One man came to Prabhupada and he was explaining how this man had this mystic power, his guru. He could create apples out of nothing. Take his hand, an apple would appear. Take his hand, it would disappear. And he kept on with Prabhupada, telling him how wonderful this man's mystic power was. And Prabhupada said, well, that's all right. He said, but actually I came here with 24 rupees. I had nothing. And I sat down with a pair of cartels in a park and started to chant, and people joined. So many people joined, and we created 100 temples all around the world. And every temple, they have dozens of devotees. And all the devotees every day are eating so many apples. So just by my cartels, so many apples have appeared. That's mystic power. Hundreds of apples have appeared all over the world. Therefore, we should try to appreciate Krishna's mystic power. One time one man asked Prabhupada, can you show me your mystic power? So Prabhupada pointed to his disciples, his followers, and said, this is my mystic power. Previously, they were all meat eaters, chasing after men or women. They were always intoxicated, and they're full of speculation. But now they've become devotees of the Supreme Lord. They've given this all up. And now they're dancing and chanting like jubilant peacocks. He said, that's my mystic power. That's actually a valuable mystic power. Everything else is more or less useless. As that yogi, he learned how to walk across the water, and he was walking across the water, across the lake, and all the townspeople, the village people, they were all bowing to him. Oh, great mystic yogi, you are God. Except for one little boy, he didn't pay any attention to the yogi. So the yogi was quite disturbed. He appreciated everyone else's appreciation, but he couldn't tolerate that this little boy showed him no respect. So he challenged the little boy. He said, why don't you pay me any respect? So the little boy said, because your mystic power is only worth 5 paise. What do you mean my mystic power is worth only 5 paise? I've been practicing yoga for hundreds of years, and now I've gotten this power, and you're claiming it's only worth 5 paise? So the little village boy said, yes, because for 5 paise, I could take a boat across that water. What do I need your mystic power for? So people are bewildered. They see everywhere God's mystic power moving planets in their orbits, having male and female machines, creating little machines, other male and females. And yet the scientists, they claim they put one little so-called satellite up in some kind of orbit, and they claim they're God, they're in control of the universe. So, Pashana Pina Pashati. They think they see, but they actually can't see what's actually taking place, because their knowledge has been stolen by illusion. Therefore, they don't recognize Paramatma, they don't recognize Brahman, they don't recognize Bhagavan, that everyone had a father and mother, and their father and mother had a father and mother. So the logical conclusion is that the original father and mother must be the supreme father and the mother, according to Prabhupada, is the Vedas. That the original father must be a person because we're persons. Otherwise, how do we become persons? If everything came out of nothing, why is nothing not a person? If you take some water and wait for thousands of millions and trillions of years, will it become a person? Take any energy and wait for millions and trillions of years, will it ever become a person? No, only people become people. Only persons are persons, not unconscious energy. Yet they can't see that, except when Krishna comes, then paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya. So Krishna comes, and for those who don't follow his instructions, imperceptibly as time, he's already killing them. It is not that one can avoid surrendering to God. People claim there is no God, I'm God, I'm in control. Then why do you die? Why does material energy force you to change your body at every moment? And ultimately you have to leave the body. If you're God, why don't you stop the material energy from changing? Why don't you prevent death? Why don't you stop everyone from dying? Because you're not God, and at the time of death, everyone falls down before God and surrenders to him. You pay your full dandavats at the time of death. So, kalosmi varatar shiva, kalosmi krit pravido, hartami pravritak, vitepi tvam navi vishanti sarve yaivastita pratnikeshu yaya. Kalosmi lokashe krit pravrido lokansa mahartim ha pravritak, vitepi tvam bhavishanti sarve yaivastita pratnikeshu yoda. Time I am the destroyer of all the worlds, and I've come here to destroy everything. Except you, the Pandavas, all people on both sides will be slain. So if we're actually someone who's God, why don't you stop time from changing everything? You can't. Because you're not God. You're just pretending to be a God. Therefore, the worst thing is to imitate. The whole world is just full of imitators. Therefore, Krishna comes and he tells everyone exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Shreyan swadamo viguna paradharma sunustitat sweda medinanam shayak paradharmo bhayavaha. You have a right. What was it? It is shreya swadamo viguna. It is better to perform one's own prescribed duty, even imperfectly. Destruction of the cause of one's own duty is better, because to follow someone else's duty is dangerous. So the worst thing is to imitate someone else, because the whole material world is imitation. As soon as we get a body, then we're imitating God. I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. But everybody has a duty to do, according to Krishna's instructions in the Shastra. So if we refuse to follow Shastra, and we just keep on imitating God, that we're the controller, we're the enjoyer, and that we're the friend of everyone, then we simply become degraded. Karma Yoga is to convince us, Karma Yoga means to do what Krishna wants us to do. We may not have the highest consciousness, but at least we have the service attitude towards Krishna. We perform our prescribed duty, Karma Yoga. Some recognition of God is there, and therefore some obedience to God is there, and therefore we don't become entangled in our activities. And higher than that is Jnana Yoga, where we actually begin to acknowledge and understand Krishna properly. So that's in the getting out of complete ignorance, a little bit of passion and a little bit of goodness there, so that we do our activities with some knowledge in Jnana Yoga. Still we're covered by ignorance and passion, because knowledge is generally, people want knowledge, how the world works, so they can enjoy it more. Still, after understanding things more clearly through the Vedas, then gradually one comes to the platform of realizing I'm a spiritual being, and I have a spiritual interest. And therefore one becomes interested in advancing spiritually through the Upanishads and other such literatures, until one comes to the liberated state that I'm actually a spiritual being, and above that I'm actually servant to Krishna. So in the mode of passion, a little bit of direction from the Shastra, then one realizes that I must take shelter of higher authority and utilize my energies properly under superior direction. I may not be self-realized, but I'm getting some understanding of reality. So that's Jnana Yoga. At least one should be Jignasu, that's a human being, is Jignasu, to find out what is true, what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, and what is Bhagavan. These are things that are hidden to us. Even here in the Hare Krišna movement, we understand that we're not this body, but it's hidden to us. We understand this Paramatma within our heart, but we don't see him, and often we don't even bother taking direction from him. We understand that there's Bhagavan, but we're not quite clear exactly. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know how strong, we don't know anything about him really directly, but we hear about him. And therefore with some knowledge we develop some faith, and we follow because of knowledge, because of higher understanding. According to our senses and our mind, which are pushing us in all different directions, we can go anywhere in the material world. But because we have some knowledge, by hearing from Krishna through Shastra, Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, because that knowledge gives us some faith according to how much we have. Therefore, we voluntarily agree to utilize our senses and mind in Krishna's service, rather than act like an animal just to gratify the senses, and therefore become an animal in our next lifetime. Unfortunately, there are those who are not only animals, but those who have made it higher, those who have become so-called intelligent. Instead of actually being intelligent, they're actually just like, they're asuras. They're not just foolish, they're actually envious of Krishna directly. So these are the worst personalities. Tanaham dvishita kuran samsaresha niradamam shi pramasha srama shubham asrisheva yonishu asram yoni apanam muda janmini mama pravyaiva kontiya tato yantyadamam gitim. There are those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among mankind. I perpetually put them into the lower species of life. Obtaining such lower species of life, they gradually sink down to the most abominable level of existence. So those who are actively decrying Krishna, those who are actively declaring that there is no God, that everyone is God, especially I'm God, I'm the Supreme God, you're little gods, you should surrender to the Supreme God. Those personalities, they never follow scripture. They're known as Naradamas, Mudhas, Maya Pritagyanas, and Asuram Bhavam Ashrityas. They never accept devotional service or even the process by which one can regulate the senses according to Krishna's directions. And therefore they go down and down and down until they become cats and dogs or lower. So we should, and practically everyone is in that category nowadays, so therefore we should avoid bad association, which is abundant in material existence nowadays, and try to take shelter of the directions of Krishna, because that's our only hope of getting out, of controlling our mind and senses so they don't drag us down to the most abominable type of existences. Therefore Krishna comes, and especially he speaks Bhagavad Gita, and as it says, Krishna Swadharma Bhagavate Dharma Gyana Dibisaha Kalo Nashta Drishamesha Paranarko Dinodita. Now that Krishna has left, after speaking Bhagavad Gita and displaying his activities on this planet, where is Dharma and Jnana? Because Krishna had created Dharma by his activities and by his example, and his devotees did the same thing. The knowledge was there when he spoke to Arjuna. Maybe the demigods in heaven heard it, but most people didn't hear it. So where did it all go? Therefore, Kalo Nashta Dvishamesha. Now that we're in Kali Yuga, everyone is blind, even to the most basic things like we're not the body. Paramatma can guide us towards a higher consciousness, and our supreme destination is Krishna, Vaikuntha, of the spiritual world. Because people have lost all consideration of this, therefore Srimad Bhagavatam has risen like the sun to dispel the darkness of material existence. And those who take shelter of it will get light from it and direction, how to get out of this materialistic existence of birth, death, old age, and disease. At least one should recognize Jara, Amadidvam, Adandidvam, Hinsa Shanti Arjavam, Achara Pasadam Socham, Styriamatma Vinigraha, Indriyarte Shuvairagyam, Anahankara Evacha, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshana. That our real problem is birth, death, old age, and disease. And everything else compared to that is insignificant. The fact that if we don't conquer death, then this life has been a failure. If we don't try to conquer death, at least, we don't try to conquer old age, disease, and death, and having to take another body, then we're wasting our life. In every life, there is eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's not that if we become a dog, we're not going to be able to eat, or we're not going to be able to sleep, we're not going to be able to mate or defend. The dogs sleep much more peaceful than human beings do, except if they aren't so unfortunate to get a human being master in modern society. Then they never sleep. Everyone who walks by, they start barking at all night long. Rah, 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 rah. Dog mentality is not very good. Anyhow, maybe even cat mentality. Got to hunt at night. Anyhow, still when the dogs go to sleep, they're asleep. Unless someone steps on their tail. Then they're not so much asleep anymore. But they sleep quite peacefully. The pigeons are better than James Bond in romance. They have so many girlfriends, and they're unlimited romance. Monkeys, pigeons. So it's not that if we become an animal, we're going to miss out on what we're so much interested in modern society. But it's much more available. A hog, if you wind up in a pigsty, you don't have to worry about eating. It's being provided every day, fresh and hot, and endless varieties. And your whole family gets to eat too. And if you get fat, no, the other members of your family won't complain. Mom's getting fat. Maybe she should go on a diet. No, mother's fat, just like the rest of us. How glorious it is. We're the fattest pigs on the block. No one's going to complain. And if a pig is sleeping, who's going to shake him and wake him up? Let the poor thing sleep. And if a pig has sex with his daughter, will they call it, will be considered, a child molester? What do they call those people? A pedophile. Pigs are not pedophiles. And as far as offending, no pig has ever gone to a karate class, but no one wants to deal with him. They don't want to get near him. He has his own special way of defense. So, no school, no one have to pay bills, no alimony in case you get divorced from your pig wife. Everything, you're in pig heaven. So why people, they're thinking, oh, Krishna is so cruel, he puts people into the lower species of life. No, the lower species of life, especially compared to modern society, is much more desirable than modern society. People are living less than the animals. So Krishna will do that so we can fully enjoy our senses, fully be able to surrender to our senses and our mind, whatever they feel like, and get a full taste of material existence, which we're trying to do in the human form of life, which is unfortunately not equipped to do so very satisfactory. The human form of life is specifically meant for for self-realization, and when we endlessly and mindlessly try to gratify our senses, it's always disappointing. Therefore, Krishna comes and gives us both sides, what sense gratification is like and what divine life is like. And if we take shelter of his instructions, then we can see both of them clearly and get out of material existence and go back to our original spiritual consciousness. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna, thanks for the lecture. So how can we be conscious of this reality and take spiritual life more seriously?
Read Prabhupada's books, chant Hare Krishna, chant our rounds more attentively, or at least follow sadhana bhakti every day, which includes the 5 powerful processes: hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worshiping the deities, chanting the holy name, serving the devotees, trying to make the atmosphere spiritual, talking about Krishna, trying to purify our hearts. So if we do that, if we get a higher taste, Vishaya vinivartante nirharasti dehinam rasa vardam rasopyasya param dvishva nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, one becomes fixed in consciousness. Therefore Krishna says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta sitamatpraha vishehi yasyandriyani tasya praga pratishtita. One who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. So practice. Restraining the senses and fixing the mind on Krishna. Anything else? Khala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.